तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and we are in the conversations of March 11, 1885, and that is at Balaram Babu's house. And now we pick up from where we left yesterday. The devotees seated in the room looked at Sri Ramakrishna as he began to chant the sweet name of the Divine Mother. How name is sweet? Because it is chanted with love. That makes it sweet. And if we, through that name, if we remember Mother, that makes it sweet. So remember, the name is sweet because it is the name of the Mother and also because it is chanted lovingly, devotionally. And that is what Sri Ramakrishna was doing. After the chanting, he began to pray. Where Master Mahashaya puts his own comments. What was the need of prayer to a soul in constant communion with God? Did he not rather want to teach? Did he not rather want to teach erring mortals how to pray? So that is the purpose Master Mahashaya has found out. Thakur is praying earnestly, sincerely, as if he is himself praying. But if you see Master Mahashaya's side, that it is not necessary because he is identified with the Mother. But Thakur, as an incarnation, as a human personality encasing the divine, automatically feels the need of prayer. And that becomes much more effective for the learning of the devotees. If Thakur would have said, let me teach you how to pray, then that would have been formal. That would have been to some extent artificial. So Thakur's method of teaching is like that. There is a human encasing in his personality. So through that human, the divine acts. And so Thakur's prayer appears, is so sincere, intense from the heart in the simplest way that creates the desired effect in the devotee's heart. They understand this is how we should pray. So that is what Master Mahashaya has understood by now. Addressing the Divine Mother, he said, "O Mother, I throw myself on thy mercy." So, devotees, we have to learn from this. I throw myself at that mercy, Throw myself means I will not keep any ego. I will not have my own I to make any effort. I will depend on your mercy because she is all knowing and all powerful. I don't have any power. So I realize this. That is the inner meaning. And so I throw myself at your mercy. I take shelter at the hallowed feet. So another way, shelter, ashraya, under your holy feet. So the holy feet means the absolute surrender. The feet is the lowest part of the personality, and so we bow down to the feet. That means we bow down to the entire person. I take shelter at the hallowed feet. I do not want bodily comforts. So we should understand we should not want bodily comforts. That will check our spiritual life totally. So what is the hindrance? That also being pointed out. So this prayer is given in the gospel as it is most important in our life. And we have to learn from every line of this prayer. I take shelter at the hallowed feet. I do not want bodily comforts. I do not crave name and fame. So, little subtler is this craving for name and fame. Bodily comforts, most physical, and little inside is name and fame. And this is what a man unconsciously seeks all the time. That is what is the prayer is teaching. When Thakur says, I don't want, that means the human beings have a want and they should get rid of this want, and that also through the prayer. So, human beings, I do not want, they should not want name and fame, and they should understand that a craving for this is lodged in their heart, and so they have to remove it, they have to transcend it, they have to throw it to mother's feet. I do not seek the eight occult powers. So that is another thing we see. The common man always seeks through my devotion. He does not understand the spiritual evolution. He thinks spirituality comes by powers, or in spiritual endeavor, power comes. No, power may come, but if the mind goes to those powers, our progress is stopped, the downfall starts. So Thakur is mentioning it. I remember here how the worldly people feel. In Nagpur ashram, there was an auditor. Very good man. He used to do audit year after year free. He used to even teach us about the accounts. But he told more than once, what you people are doing? You have given up homes and hearts and are practicing. Did you gain anything? Did you gain any power? So that is what the common man feels about the spiritual life, that those who proceed in spiritual life will have some power to alter the position of the world and to gain some comfort, gain some material wealth, or sometimes to do something for others to show their powers. Again, they become related. Name and fame, power. And there are eight powers mentioned as the siddhi, or the relative subtler powers arising when one does yoga practice. Anima, Lagima, you can read. Anima, Lagima, Girima, all these powers. To become very small, to become very big, to become heavy, to become light, to become invisible to people. How are these connected with God's vision? Only when Hanuman-like people, when they are doing God's work, then all these powers come into them. But they are never attached to those powers, but automatically for doing God's work, the power is used. Similarly, Sri Ramakrishna had told Narendranath, do you want powers? He said, will they help me in spiritual life? Thakur said, no. But after you gain the full spirituality, it will help you to do the work. To that he had said, now I don't want to think of that at all. Let me see my spiritual goal. So, Thakur through his prayer is showing us that the craving is there, and because of that, Thakur is saying, I do not seek the 8 occult powers. Be gracious and grant that I may have pure love for thee. So, what is the one prayer? What does he want? If I do not want this or that, what do I want? I want pure love for God. Pure love for God means without any attached desire. That is pure. Attraction for God, attraction for God's qualities, to become like God. These are all included in pure love for God. Ultimately, you will become like God. So this is pure love. Otherwise, love is mixed. I love you, you give me this. That is not pure love. So Thakur is teaching through every line of his prayer. A love unsmitten by desire, untainted by any selfish ends. A love craved by the devotee for the sake of love alone. And grant me the favor, O Mother, that I may not be deluded by thy world bewitching Maya. That is another lesson, that the same Divine Mother has spread the whole world, and man becomes deluded by thinking those things to be real and those things to be covetable. So that if it comes, then my spiritual progress is stopped. So he is uttering that I do not crave, do not delude me by your world bewitching Maya. That I may never be attached to the world. That is the meaning. To woman and gold. World means enjoyment of objects, enjoyment of the means of objects. Conjured by thy inscrutable Maya. So, attachment also, no. The world is conjured up by your Maya. And so, that means world is not real in itself. Conjured up by Maya, that means appearance only. But that deludes a man. So that is the purest form of prayer which Thakur is teaching. If you can follow up all this sincerely, you will surely be lifted by the Divine Mother. Some more things are necessary. O Mother, there is no one but thee whom I may call my own. This is a very big realization of life. I feel I am mother, I am father, I am my son, I am my daughter, I am my wife, I am my husband to take care of me. And if that is there, man cannot progress. He will remain attached to those worldly people instead of getting recourse to more and more love and identification with God. And this is a delusion in itself. Nobody in the world takes care of other except God and maybe the Guru, God in the form of the Guru and God himself. They care for everybody. They do not have their own axe to grind. While in the world, people have their own axe to grind. So, this is the great teaching in Narada Bhakti Sutra. This non-dependence, giving up the dependence of anything else leads to identification with God. That is what Narada tells us. Anyashrayanam tyago ananyata. We'll get non-difference from God by giving up the sense of support from anything in the world. So this prayer is teaching that also. Oh Mother, there is no one but thee whom I may call my own. Mother, I do not know how to worship, so we may be worshipping. We may learn from the books, but the main love element in the worship, how I know? It is grace of the Mother only. So, not to boast about oneself, so he says, I do not know how to worship, I am without austerity. Somebody may practice austerity, but one should not feel that that is sufficient for God realization, any austerity. So finally everything depends upon God's grace, and that is what he is coveting. I have neither devotion nor knowledge. They are the two ways of approaching God. So he is mentioning both. I know love because my love for you has some selfishness, some ego. So that cannot be pure love. Only if you bestow pure love, then I will have it. He is praying for the pure love. And knowledge means awareness of God's real nature. That is not there in man till he reaches the goal. So declare, tell, all this prayer is also telling your own mind about it. I should not think I know everything. I should not think I can easily proceed towards Mother. So this is the full prayer Thakur has taught us to pray like that, to feel like that. Every word of this prayer, uttered from the depths of his soul, stirred the minds of the devotees. The melody of his voice, so added to that, the sweetness or the melody of his voice, and the childlike simplicity of his face. So when he was praying, on his face, it appeared that he is absolutely a child. This total dependence on Mother entails. So that is what we could have. And so the childlike simplicity of his face touched their hearts very deeply. We should touch our hearts by reading this. Now, next topic starts here. Girish invited the master to his house, saying that he must go there that very night. He means Thakur must go to Girish's house that very night. Master, don't you think it will be late? Girish, no, sir. You may return any time you like. Return from where to where? Hmm. You may come to my house, will be better English. It carries more sense than you may return. I shall have to go to the theatre tonight to settle a quarrel there. This creates a little confusion, the language. That means Girish should be absent in his house. That is not true. Girish is meaning that now I should go to the theatre, I'll come back. So nothing will be late. You may come as late as you like. So you may come as late as you like. This word return is confusing. Where to return? To Balram's house. You may reach my house. You may come to my house. And we can add, now I shall have to go to the theatre tonight to settle a quarrel there. Instead of tonight, he could have said now. You see, in Bengali, there is no night. Today, I will have to go to theatre. These small words create confusion of understanding. It seems tonight, it becomes a confusion. I shall have to go to the theatre. Today, he could have said. This evening, he could have said, to settle a quarrel there. I think instead of tonight, we can say this evening. What is meaning that now he has to go. So he cannot be more with Thakur there. And so he is inviting him to his house, even if it is late. It was 9 o'clock in the evening. Now 9 o'clock is mentioned as evening by Western standards. It was 9 o'clock in the night, we could say, when the master was ready to start for Girisha's house. Since Balram had prepared supper for him, Sri Ramakrishna said to Balram, please send the food you have prepared for me to Girish. I shall enjoy it there. Master Masha comments, he did not want to hurt Balram's feeling. Anyway, if Balram knows Girish has invited for night food, then he would not prepare. So Balram also has prepared. And so it is a clear matter of natural courtesy. Giving up your food, I shall go there. That will not be correct. So, but I have to go there and he will offer me food. That is the implication. So, you have cooked. I don't want to give it up. You send that also to his house. I can enjoy both these things there. As the master was coming down from the second floor of Balram's house, now is this correct? English idiom, I do not know. First floor, we say. Ground floor, first floor. Because there is no second floor in Balaram's house except the terrace. As the master was coming down from the upper floor, you can say, or first floor, you can say, Balaram's house, he became filled with divine ecstasy. He looked as if he were drunk. Narayan and M were by his side. Narayan and M were by his side. A little behind came Ram, Chuni, and the other devotees. Chunilal has become Chuni now. No sooner did he reach the ground floor than he became totally overwhelmed by divine intoxication. Narayan came forward to hold him by the hand, lest he should miss his footing and fall. The master expressed annoyance at this. That means he had the external sense and consciousness, though he was appearing more in drunk. A few minutes later, he said to Narayan affectionately, he should not be hurt by Thakur's not allowing him to hold. So affectionately, if you hold me by the hand, people may think I am drunk. I shall walk by myself. So people should not misunderstand Sri Ramakrishna. Otherwise, they will come to harm. And so, Sri Ramakrishna said, though he is drunk, on the street, I shall walk by myself. Girish's house was not far away. The master passed the crossing at Bospada Lane. Suddenly he began to walk faster in that spirit of intoxication. The devotees were left behind. Presently, Narendra was seen coming from a distance. Now, Master Masha makes comment. At other times, the master's joy would have been unbounded at the thought of Narendra or at the mere mention of his name. But now he did not even exchange a word with his beloved disciple. That is the effect of intoxication. He is seeing Narendra, but his mind is not sufficiently outside to talk with him. Master's mood infinite. As the master and the devotees entered the lane where Girish lived, he was able to utter words. So now he has come to some external consciousness. He said to Narendra, are you quite well, my child? I could not talk to you then. So he had seen, but he could not respond. Every word the master spoke was full of infinite tenderness because love of Narendra. He had not yet reached the door of Girisha's house when suddenly he stopped and said, looking at Narendra, I want to tell you something. This is one and that is another. Who could know what was passing through his innermost soul at that moment? That means Master Masha could not understand. We can try a little, if no harm, that this is one and that is another. The worldly experience comes from a lower level of consciousness. Spiritual life, God are experienced by a higher level of consciousness. This must be what Thakur is telling you. And we can suppose Naren might have understood also, because he was talking to Naren, not to others. Giri stood at the door to welcome the master. Asked, "Sir, we are back from the theatre. You will not be responsible to take I live in theatre and you come to my house." As Sri Ramakrishna entered the house, Girish fell at his feet and lay there on the floor like a rod. This was now the expressions of salutation. Dandavat, like a rod. At the master's bidding, he stood up, touching the master's feet with his forehead. You may say, after touching feet by forehead, he stood up. Sri Ramakrishna was taken to the drawing room on the second floor. That also must be the first floor. The devotees followed him and sat down, eager to get a view of the master and listen to every word that fell from his lips. So they would arrange themselves like that. As Sri Ramakrishna was about to take the seat, one similar incident I'll tell. Bhagwan Shri Krishna, along with his cowherd friends in the forest, wants to sit for a eating food together with his friends. And there the books describe that he arranged them in semicircular so that everybody can look at Shri Krishna. So that is what the people want to see. Devotees followed him and sat down, eager to get a view of the master and listen to every word that fell from his lips. As Sri Ramakrishna was about to take the seat reserved for him, he saw a newspaper lying near it. He signed to someone to remove the paper. Master explained, since a newspaper contains worldly matters, gossip and scandal, he regarded it as unholy. After the paper was removed, he took his seat. Nitya Gopal came forward and bowed low before the master. Nitya Gopal is a devotee about whom Thakur has said he has reached a very high state, but he does not belong to this place. That is Nitya Gopal. And he used to warn him about going to a lady's house. She used to feel herself as the mother, but Thakur says that this child, mother-child relationship may become distorted later on. Master, well, you haven't been to Dakshineshwar for a long time. Nitya Gopal, true sir, I haven't been able to go there. I haven't been well. I have had pain all over my body. Master, how are you now? Nitya Gopal, not so well, sir. Master, bring your mind down one or two notes because the mind is too high, so the body does not keep well. Thakur has understood. She says, bring your mind down a little. One or two notes. These notes refer to musical notes. Last note of an octave. Your voice has gone there. That is strenuous. If you can bring one or two notes swaras below, then you may feel comfortable. Nitya Gopal, I don't like people's company. They say all kinds of things about me that sometimes frightens me. But again I feel great strength within. आपका एक बार खूब सहाय हुआ. Let me modify this translation a little. Now, what people say, due to which he is afraid, it may be praising him, it may be not understanding him, one thing. Secondly, but again, sometimes it is like this, sometimes I feel great strength within. Master, that's only natural. Who lives with you? That means people. Nitya Gopal, Tarak, that is Swami Shivananda. Huh? They were both living in Rambabu's house. He is always with me, but sometimes he too gets on my nerves because his attitude is different. So his company may prove strain on his nerve. समय समय भालो लागे ना. Sometimes it is not pleasant. Sometimes I do not seek his company. Getting on nerves may be a little more. But sometimes I dislike, you may say, his company. Master, Nankla told me that there lived at his monastery an ascetic who had acquired occult powers. He used to go about with his eyes fixed on the sky. But when one of his companions left him, he became disconsolate. Ganesh Garji, what is Ganesh Garji? Anyway. Not very clear. Now here, that he had occult powers itself is doubtful. So Dabri is telling, he had become Siddha, maybe perfect. He used to go about with his eyes fixed on the sky. But when one of his companions left him, he became disconsolate. Sometimes he used to feel disconsolate. Let us stick to this. Sometimes he avoided company also. Anyway, this is little unclear to me. Again, the master went into an ecstatic mood. Strange thoughts seemed to stir his mind, and he remained speechless. After a while, he said, Art thou come? I too am here. So this must be addressed to Divine Mother. Who could pretend to understand these words? Many of these devotees were in the room. Narendra, Girish, Ram, Haripada, Chuni, Balaram, and M. So Balaram had also followed Thakur in Girish's house. Narendra did not believe that God could incarnate himself in a human body. But Girish differed with him. He had the burning faith that from time to time the Almighty Lord, through his inscrutable power, assumes a human body and descends to earth to serve a divine purpose. So approaches are different. Narendra was a lover of Nirakar, and so God, human body, it was not rational for him. Girish, on the other side, had a deep faith, and that told him that God can become everything. The master said to Girish, I should like to hear you and Narendra argue in English. Now, these are 2 points. Should like to see them argue, so that through mutual argument, both may come to some higher understanding. Second point is in English. So doubt comes whether Thakur could understand English or he wants just to see some tamasha. We can definitely tell Thakur could understand English. But those people are in front of Thakur or otherwise, they are not going to speak in English. The discussion began, but they talked in Bengali. Naren said, God is infinity. How is it possible for him, for us to comprehend him? He dwells in every human being. It is not the case that he manifests himself through one person only, incarnation. Sri Ramakrishna tenderly. I quite agree with Narendra. And this is as a rider. Huh? I quite agree with Narendra. If God is everywhere, but is there not? So this is the way of making somebody appreciate or comprehend your idea. If you say no, then it becomes different. I agree, but this rider. But then you must remember that there are different manifestations of his power in different beings. This you must accept. At some places, there is a manifestation of his avidya Shakti. At others, a manifestation of his Vidya Shakti. This must be clearly understood by all so-called Vedantins, that the manifestation is different, though he is in all. He is in all, is not affected by this, but the manifestation is according to that man's body and mind. So in some, Avidya Shakti is more manifested. That is also belongs to God. The other Vidya Shakti will be manifested. That also belongs to God. So this is a clear understanding than that of so-called Vedantins. Through different instruments, God's power is manifest in different degrees, greater and smaller. Therefore, all men are not equal. God is present in all, but all men are not equal. Because manifestation is less or more. Ram. What is the use of these futile arguments? Master, sharply. No, no. Ram did not want to listen even to arguments, he wants only faith. So Thakur sharply is telling him, no, no, there is a meaning in all this. To understand better and better, to comprehend better and better, Girish to Narendra. How do you know that God does not assume a human body? Negative side also, what are the proofs? Narendra. God is beyond words or thought. Here, Master says, no. No, that is not true. That means he is not only beyond words and thought. He is beyond, but he is everywhere. He can be known by the pure buddhi, which is the same as the pure self. So beyond word or thought means cannot be realized. It becomes like the agnostics. Though that is true, but he can be known by the pure intellect, which is the same as pure self, because God is one without a second. So that self itself has become buddhi, mind, and everything. So long as the thinking is impure, you cannot understand that. But if the thinking becomes pure, according to the nature of reality, then you will understand that that very reality has appeared as this. So, pure buddhi equation is same as pure Atman. Girish to Narendra. Unless God Himself teaches men through His human incarnation, who will teach them spiritual mysteries? God takes a human body to teach men divine knowledge and divine love. Otherwise, who will teach divine things? Ordinary Guru cannot. God in the form of the Guru can. Narendra. Why? God dwells in our own heart. He will certainly teach us from within the heart. Thakur has told about this, that when the mind becomes very, very, very pure, then you will be taught by God. Otherwise, God teaches you through Guru, a person. Master tenderly. Yes, yes, he will teach us as our inner guide. So Thakur agrees on this, that a particular state of the mind, this will happen. Gradually, Narendra and Girish became involved in a heated discussion. If God is infinity, how can he have parts? What did Hamilton say? What were the views of Herbert Spencer, of Tyndall, of Huxley, and so forth and so on? Master to him, I don't enjoy these discussions. So when it has become purely intellectual and with reference to the Western philosophers, this I do not like. Thakur himself wanted them to speak to each other, but this has become now intellectual discussion, which will not lead us anywhere. Master to him, I don't enjoy these discussions. Why should I argue at all? I clearly see that God is everything. So seeing is better. He himself has become all. I see. So I clearly see, I see. Then arguments are not useful. I see that whatever is God. That Astitva, their existence itself is God. He is everything. Again, He is beyond everything. So both are true. I come to a state in which my mind and intellect merge in the indivisible. At the sight of Narendra, my mind loses itself in the consciousness of the Absolute. And soon as I see Narendra, because his tendency is towards that. To Girish, what do you say to that? Girish with a smile, why ask me as if I understand everything except that one point? Sir, I do not understand the subtler realities. Is a clear statement by Girish. So why you are asking opinion one of them? I do not understand any of that. Thakur wanted a response from him to elevate him. Master, again, I cannot utter a word unless I come down at least 2 steps from the plane of Samadhi. Shankara's non-dualistic explanation of Vedanta is true, and so is the qualified non-dualistic interpretation of Ramanuja. We'll find that Thakur takes Ramanuja's name for the qualified monism, but Thakur's interpretation differs from Ramanuja. You shall find that on some points. Ramanuja does not accept the absolute at all. That is the main point. And Thakur says, Shankar also is true, Ramanuja also is true. So, from one point, there are stages reached by the mind on the way. Secondly, Thakur's explanation of qualified non-dualism, we shall see, is different. He is talking of transcendence and immanence. While Ramanuj, that alone is the final, that is the difference. Narendra, what is qualified non-dualism? Sir, Narendra got a new point to learn. Master, it is the theory of Ramanuj. According to this theory, Brahman or the Absolute is qualified by the universe and its living beings. Qualified non-dualism. That means world and living beings have their own existence, though dependent on God, central is God, but God is qualified by these things also. That things also are real. These three, Brahman, the world, and living beings, together constitute one, that is Ramanuja. Take the instance of a bale fruit. A man wanted to know the weight of the fruit. He separated the shell, the flesh, and the seeds, because that is the real bale. But can a man get the weight by weighing only the flesh. He must weigh flesh, shell, and seeds together. At first, it appears that the real thing is the fruit of the fruit. Real thing in the fruit is the flesh and not its seeds or shell. Then, by reasoning, you find that the shell, seeds, and flesh all belong to the fruit. The shell and seeds belong to the same thing that the flesh belongs to. Likewise, in spiritual discrimination, so he is stating the Vishiddha position very clearly. Must first reason, following the method of not this, not this. This not believed by Ramanuja. But Thakur has said both are true. God is not the universe. God is not the living beings. Brahman alone is real and all else is unreal. Then one realizes, as with the bell fruit, that the reality from which we derive the notion of Brahman is the very reality that evolves the idea of living beings and the universe. The Nitya and the Leela are two aspects of one and the same reality. Therefore, according to Ramanuja, Brahman is qualified by the universe and the living being. This is the theory of qualified non-dualism. Thakur has put the theory very correctly. How far it tallies with Ramanuja is anybody's. To him, I do see God directly. What shall I reason about? I clearly see that he himself has become everything. So that is the Thakur's idea. After transcendence, immanence. That he himself has become the universe and the living beings. So sometimes eternal, sometimes dischanging. But without awakening one's own inner consciousness, one cannot realize the all-pervading consciousness. So that is the great difference. How long does a man reason? So long as he has not realized God. But mere words will not do. As for myself, I clearly see that he himself has become everything. The inner consciousness must be awakened through the grace of God. Through this awakening, a man goes into samadhi. He often forgets that he has a body. He gets rid of his attachment to woman and gold and does not enjoy any talk unless it is about God. Worldly talk gives him pain. Through the awakening of the inner consciousness, one realizes the all-pervading consciousness. So once consciousness is raised, goes into Nirvikal Samadhi, and then one realizes that everywhere it is the same consciousness. So Thakur has explained, the discussion came to a close. Okay? So we shall see the next thing on Thursday. Om Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kaviviridhitam Kalmashāpaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadātatam Bhuvi Grunanti Ye Bhurida Jana. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.